Hey everybody, welcome to the final installment of this series on starting up a side hustle or a business. So many people are doing it here in America. And so guess what? Now you have some 1099 income. You made some money. That hobby of selling some of your handmade jewelry or soap has now started to create you some income on Etsy. The business you started at the strip mall down the street now created some profit. Congratulations. The big question from here is, do you owe Uncle Sam some taxes? And how do you actually pay those taxes to the government because it doesn't come out of your paycheck? Well, inside of this video, I will give you the secrets on how to estimate your taxes and the one big mistake you don't want to make when it comes to figuring out taxes with your side hustle. One of the big questions that I have received over the years from business owners that are starting a business is, how do I calculate my quarterly estimated taxes? And there's actually more than one way to do this. You can estimate the amount that you're going to owe for the year, but of course you're going to have to know what your profit is and then send 1/4 of that to the IRS every quarter. For instance, if you think you'll owe $10,000 for 2021, then you'd send $2,500 each quarter. What I recommend as a better strategy in general is, whatever you make to start this thing, just withhold 25 or 30% of every dollar, and at that bank account you just set up a separate bank account that you can withhold your federal and state tax potential liability. Look, if you don't have to pay all the money in, then you get to keep it. If you do, then you've got the money set aside. But it's a huge mistake to not set aside anything and hope that you'll owe nothing at the end of the year. That's a big mistake. Another method is to estimate your annual tax liability based upon what you've already earned during the year. You need to remember this. You need to think about your net profit and not your gross profit, unless you're going to do it the first way that I just told you and just take it off the top. That's a safer way, unless you can really be accurate on what your net profit will be. You're going to use IRS Form 1040-ES to show your income and estimate and project your tax liability. There's also a great IRS publication that I recommend, number 505. It has all the rules and details, and you might want to use some tax software that may help you as well. So one thing to know is that if you get employees, then this may become more difficult, because if you're not a bookkeeper by trade, trying to do all the different tax forms if you have employees can be difficult. I recommend getting a local payroll company. Obviously the bigger ones like Paychecks and ADP can cost more, but certainly you won't have to do any of the heavy lifting. One thing to know, if you've got employees, you may have to file other tax forms like 941s, which are your payroll tax forms. And if you have multiple employees in multiple states, and it can become more complicated. A lot of side hustles that people start, it's just going to be you and yourself, and you only have to worry about one person. If you get paid too much, then you can ultimately apply that refund or overage to future payments that can happen in a future year. I've done that many times when I miscalculated for some reason and I had extra that I paid in. So then the question is, like, how do you actually physically pay the estimated quarterly taxes? The easiest thing to do is to basically go online and print out your estimated tax payment forms for the IRS, which is Form 1040-ES. You can ultimately pay electronically by using the IRS's direct pay system, or you can use the US Treasury's electronic federal tax payment system as an example. Of course, you can always just write a check out of your corporate checkbook, and then you can just send that on to the IRS. I don't really recommend paying with a credit card, but if you do and you don't care about paying the convenience fee, which is about 2 or 3%, then you can pay it with a credit card as well. Of course, like we mentioned in a prior video that you have to check out about credit cards, if you're going to get those bonus points or you're going to get additional rewards, then it might make sense from that perspective. But the one thing you don't want to do is this. What if I just blow it off, Ted, and I just deal with it later? That is not an answer and not a way to run a business. Remember, if you're behind on this, the IRS could charge you penalties, and they can be onerous. And if you didn't pay enough throughout the year to the IRS, they can charge you a penalty for being late. They can charge you a penalty for inadequate payments. And even if you're due a refund, they can all still happen when you file your tax return. So just remember, we can be talking 15 or 20% or more in a year. So now that you've watched these 8 videos, and by the way, if this is your first one on estimated tax payments, then you're probably going to need to go way back to number 1 and start with a catchy name. And I recommend watching the entire What Ted Says series here on basically how to start and run a side hustle. But after these 8 videos, now that you've started them and learned how to create and name a business, now that you've got a really good toolkit on how to build the framework for starting and running and growing your small business, I think you need to check out the next video. How do I make $1 million? But of course, make sure you pay those estimated taxes on your business, or you could have a real speed bump down the road. I will be you enjoyed this video here on estimated taxes so you get yourself off to the right foot with the IRS, and you've enjoyed this entire series. Now you are ready to take that side hustle to the next level.